6 consecutive games ejected. In the early days of the NBA, players didn't hold back, but Don Boven took that to another level. During the 1951 to 1952 season, the Milwaukee Hawks forward got ejected from 6 straight games, a record that still sounds made up. Every night, refs tossed him out for fouls, fights, or pure frustration. Back then, the game was rougher, but even by those standards, this was wild. It wasn't one meltdown, it was a streak. His name became shorthand for "get him out of here." What's crazier is how little we know about him beyond that chaos. No massive stats, no long career, just 6 games of mayhem. Today, a streak like that would dominate social media. Back then, it barely made headlines, but it left a permanent mark as the strangest record of its era. Boven's legacy isn't about points or titles, it's about proving that sometimes history remembers the troublemakers. 19-18 final score. Imagine buying a ticket for an NBA game and seeing fewer points than a single modern quarter. On November 22nd, 1950, the Fort Wayne Pistons beat the Minneapolis Lakers 19-18, the lowest scoring game ever. The league had no shot clock, so teams stalled endlessly, holding the ball for minutes at a time. George Mikan, the game's biggest star, scored 15 of the Lakers' 18 points. Fans were furious. The pace was unbearable, and the NBA realized it had a problem. That snooze fest directly inspired the 24-second shot clock, which saved basketball from itself. Without this painful disaster, we might not have the fast-paced game we know today. It's one of those rare cases where a record's existence forced change. The Pistons won the game, but lost the crowd. The league learned that excitement matters more than control. That game wasn't just boring, it was revolutionary. But the next record proved that too much basketball could be just as brutal. 6 overtime games. If the 19-18 game was too slow, this one went in the opposite direction, lasting nearly 8 quarters. On January 6, 1951, the Indianapolis Olympians and Rochester Royals battled through 6 overtimes before the Olympians finally won 75-73. That's 78 minutes of basketball without the shot clock. Both teams ran out of energy long before the end, combining for just 18 points in all 6 extra periods. Fans expected fireworks but got exhaustion. Players were drenched, shooting turned ice cold, and strategy evaporated into survival. The score looked like a halftime total, but it was the full result. To this day, no NBA game has lasted longer. What's wild is how forgotten it is. Most fans have no idea the record even exists, but the league never saw anything like it again. And after that marathon, rules started shifting toward faster play. The NBA learned its lesson the hard way, and speaking of long odds, the next record happened from nearly full court. 89-foot made shot. There are long-range shooters, and then there's Baron Davis on February 17, 2001. He let one fly from his own baseline, an 89-foot heave that somehow banked in before the buzzer. It's the longest made shot in NBA history. Most full-court attempts don't even reach the rim, but Davis drilled his like he had radar. It wasn't a lucky bounce either. It went clean off the glass. Fans were stunned, teammates lost their minds, and even the broadcasters went silent for a beat. That shot traveled nearly the entire length of the court, almost 30 yards. What makes it crazier is that it wasn't even his first wild moment. Davis had a reputation for pulling off the impossible, but this one became legend. Every time someone tosses a desperation heave, that clip resurfaces. 17 blocks in a game. Defense doesn't usually get love, but on October 28th, 1973, Elmore Smith turned it into a one-man highlight reel. Playing for the Lakers, he blocked 17 shots in a single game, a number that's never been matched. 17 possessions erased by one player. He didn't just protect the rim, he owned it. Every attempt inside became a rejection, and Portland's offense fell apart. The crazy part, Smith isn't a household name. He played only 8 seasons, but for one night, he looked like an unstoppable force of nature. His timing, wingspan, and awareness were flawless. Modern stars like Rudy Gobert or Anthony Davis haven't even come close. Some believe Wilt Chamberlain could have topped it before blocks were officially tracked, but that's just speculation. Smith's record still stands after 50 years. It's the kind of dominance that makes you wonder what else got lost before stats were modernized. 48.5 minutes per game season. In 1961 to 1962, Wilt Chamberlain didn't just play basketball. He lived on the court. That season, he averaged 48.5 minutes per game. Keep in mind, there are only 48 minutes in regulation. Wilt played every minute of every game plus all the overtimes. He never sat down, never slowed down, and still averaged over 50 points and 25 rebounds. No player has ever come close. He once said he only came out when he fouled out, and that almost never happened. He played 3,882 minutes that year, more than anyone before or since. It's a record that feels humanly impossible, yet somehow real. His conditioning bordered on myth. The man didn't just dominate the league, he exhausted it. 30 assists in a game. On December 30th, 1990, Scott Skiles of the Orlando Magic didn't just run the offense, he rewrote how passing could look. Against the Denver Nuggets, he dished out 30 assists in one game, setting a record that's never been touched. Skiles wasn't a superstar. He wasn't flashy, but that night, he became unstoppable. Every possession felt like a guaranteed bucket. His teammates could have closed their eyes, and he'd still find them. The Magic finished with 155 points in regulation, and Skiles added 22 of his own. It's the kind of stat line that makes you double-check the box score to make sure it's not a typo. Even legendary passers like Stockton and Magic never reached it. Skiles played with surgical precision, threading passes into gaps that didn't seem to exist. 30 assists means 30 direct scores. One man creating nearly all of a team's offense. But first, only cool people are subscribed to this channel. So hit that subscribe button before we go any further. 370-point game, December 13th, 1983. The Detroit Pistons and Denver Nuggets played a game that defied everything about basketball's limits. After 3 overtimes, the Pistons won 186-184, combining for 370 total points, the most in NBA history. Defense disappeared, stamina dissolved, and offense took over. Kiki Vandeweghe dropped 51. Isaiah Thomas put up 47. By the end, players looked more like marathon runners than professionals. The pace was absurd. Fast breaks, threes, layups, repeat. It wasn't a game so much as organized chaos. What makes it crazier is that the Pistons made only one three-pointer all night. Every bucket came the hard way. It was pure 80s basketball excess before analytics tamed the game. The box score looked fictional. The crowd couldn't believe what they were seeing. And decades later, no one has topped it. The Pistons and Nuggets created a record that may never be broken. 29-point fourth-quarter comeback. On November 25th, 1977, the Milwaukee Bucks pulled off a miracle. Down by 29 points with just over 8 minutes left against the Atlanta Hawks, they somehow stormed back to win. The Hawks led by 29, then got outscored 41-11 in the fourth quarter. Junior Bridgman and Brian Winters led the charge, but it was more collapse than comeback. Atlanta couldn't buy a bucket, and Milwaukee couldn't miss. The crowd went from silent disbelief to pure chaos as the impossible unfolded. You could feel momentum shift with every possession until the Hawks' confidence vanished. It's still the largest fourth-quarter comeback in league history, and it reminds us how quickly control can crumble. A single cold stretch can erase an entire game's work. Even today, when teams shoot more threes, no one has matched that turnaround. It's one of those stories you almost have to watch twice to believe. But if that felt chaotic, wait until you hear how fast a player can vanish from the court. 3-minute foul out. If you blinked, you missed it. On December 29th, 1997, Dallas Mavericks forward Bubba Wells fouled out in just 3 minutes, the fastest disqualification in NBA history. But it wasn't bad defense, it was strategy. Coach Don Nelson ordered Wells to intentionally foul Dennis Rodman, betting that the Bulls star would miss his free throws. Instead, Rodman sank 9 of 12, and Wells set an infamous record. The plan backfired spectacularly, and Wells' name was etched into trivia forever. His entire NBA career lasted 1 season, but that 3-minute meltdown ensured he'd never be forgotten. In an era before analytics dominated coaching, this was the definition of overthinking. A desperate plan gone wrong, Wells fouled out faster than some players warm up. Today, it's remembered as one of the funniest tactical disasters in league history. 40 technical fouls in a season. Rasheed Wallace didn't play basketball. He lived it at maximum volume. During the 2000 to 2001 season, he picked up 40 technical fouls, the most ever in a single year. That's nearly 1 every other game. His passion was unmatched, but so was his temper. Referees dreaded dealing with him because one bad call could set him off. He'd argue, shout, stare them down, sometimes even when his team was winning. And yet, fans loved it. Ball don't lie became his trademark. Wallace was fiery, emotional, and entirely unfiltered. The league eventually changed rules around technical fouls partly because of him. Modern players get suspended after just 16. Rasheed more than doubled that mark. His record feels impossible now, both for how extreme it was and how much personality it carried. The NBA has never seen another like him. 68-point win. On December 17th, 1991, the Cleveland Cavaliers didn't just beat the Miami Heat, they obliterated them, 148-80, a 68-point victory. It remains the largest margin in NBA history. The Cavs weren't even trying to humiliate anyone. They were just unstoppable. 12 players scored, 8 hit double figures. The ball movement was perfect, and the Heat looked shell-shocked. Cleveland's bench outscored Miami's starters. The crazy part? This wasn't a powerhouse team. It was just one of those nights where everything went right. Every shot fell, every pass connected, every defensive rotation worked. By halftime, the crowd knew they were witnessing something historic. Blowouts happen, but not like this. The final buzzer felt merciful. The Heat walked off looking dazed, like they'd survived a storm. That kind of dominance is rare, but so is perfection. 97 straight free throws made. From March 1993 to November 1993, Michael Williams hit 97 straight free throws. That's nearly 10 full games without a single miss. It's the longest streak ever recorded, and the mental focus it required is staggering. Most players would crack under the pressure after 30 or 40 makes, but Williams just kept going. Every game, fans would start counting, holding their breath as the streak climbed. He wasn't a superstar, but for one season, he was automatic. What makes it even more incredible is that he was only a 72% free throw shooter before the streak began. Then something clicked. His form never wavered. Even in games that were already decided, he kept his concentration. The record still stands untouched, even in an era full of elite shooters. It's a quiet record. No celebration, no highlight reel, but it's one of the hardest feats ever accomplished. 89 straight games with a three. From December 1994 to January 1996, Dana Barros did something even legends like Curry and Ray Allen haven't matched. He hit at least one three-pointer in 89 straight games. For nearly 2 full seasons, he was unstoppable from deep. Barros wasn't a superstar, just a relentless sharpshooter who made the most of every chance. The streak started quietly and grew into legend as reporters began tracking it nightly. He nailed shots off screens, off the dribble, even contested ones, all while running the offense for Boston and Philadelphia. The record became part of his identity. Barros and the three-pointer were inseparable. It was consistency in its purest form long before analytics worshipped spacing. When it finally ended, he smiled and said, "Guess I'll start another." That confidence sums him up perfectly. 18-year-old NBA debut. Andrew Bynum's first NBA game came just 6 days after his 18th birthday, making him the youngest player ever to take the court. On November 2nd, 2005, he played 5 minutes for the Lakers, grabbing 2 rebounds and blocking 2 shots. It wasn't a spectacular debut, but it was historic. Bynum was part of the last wave of high school players to jump straight to the pros before the league raised the age limit. His first bucket came weeks later off a pass from Kobe Bryant, who later joked about mentoring a kid who should be at prom. It marked the end of an era when teenage prodigies entered the NBA as raw, fearless, and untested talents. While Bynum's career had highs and lows, that moment remains a symbol of how young greatness can start. It's the kind of record that feels surreal, and the perfect place to end this list of the strangest feats in basketball history. If you like this video, consider watching this next one, which YouTube thinks you are going to really love.